It's Pastor Maldonado ahead of Fernando Alonso.
How the f*** did that happen? Hey there guys, I'm Will and welcome to FP1, and when Pastor Maldonado made a surprise cameo during the Spanish Grand Prix this year, it got me reminiscing about how much more exciting Formula 1 was back then, as you never knew when he was going to bin it in the wall, or catch fire, or table flip Esteban Gutierrez. By the end of his tenure in Formula 1, Pastor Maldonado got involved in at least 49 crashes or incidents in 95 starts. Trust me, I spent an hour counting them all. This meant, on average, he would crash once every other weekend. It makes you wonder how he survived for so long at the pinnacle of motorsport. Oh yeah, of course. But there was a time where things could have gone very differently, and in some alternate universe, there's Pastor Maldonado wearing red at the dawn of the hybrid era. Let's break this one down then. Pastor Maldonado would make his Formula 1 debut for Williams in 2011, following a title-winning season in GP2 the previous year. There was a lot of hype surrounding the young Venezuelan, especially in and around his new team, mainly because he would bring a lot of money. Regardless, he would find himself paired against veteran F1 legend Rubens Barrichello, who, despite being so old he was probably losing bladder control at this point, would still pose a good benchmark against the aspiring rookie. It wouldn't be a great start for either driver though, as Williams would suffer a double retirement in the first 2 rounds of the 2011 season, and then only go on to pick up 5 points over the course of the year. Barrichello taking 4 of these with a pair of 9th place finishes in Monaco and Canada, and Maldonado picking up his first and thus far only point with 10th at Monza. That said, it probably didn't help that the car was a Williams. I think that's all I need to say there. Perhaps the main thing holding the team back were the Cosworth engine stuck in the back of their car, though as 2012 rolled around, the team would switch to Renault Power, at a time where they were actually competent. Maldonado would be retained as Barrichello was moved aside for fellow Ayrton Senna wannabe Bruno Senna. Fun fact, he was actually the team's second choice as they first attempted to sign 2007 world champion Kimi Raikkonen. However, he just told them to f*** off. Anyway, let's get into the 2012 season, and if you haven't seen this one before, I cannot recommend it enough. I mean, it rivals 2021 in a lot of ways, just minus all the fake shit. Williams would improve from 9th to 8th in the standings, which may not seem like much, but when you consider that they scored 15 times more points than they did in 2011, well, hey, that's not bad going. Maldonado would have a much better year as well, taking home 5-point finishes, and of course that sensational win in Spain you saw at the start of the video. That Spanish Grand Prix weekend was a strange one indeed. Maldonado had looked his standard unimpressive self over Friday, finishing 17th and 13th in the opening 2 practice sessions. However, Williams would find something before FP3 on Saturday morning, as Pastor would end the session in an impressive second, which turned the heads of many in the paddock. And this would be where he would finish in qualifying as well, at least initially. You see, around this time, the McLaren team had this weird fetish of pissing off Lewis Hamilton, and this would strike again when the Briton was told to stop on his way back to the pits at the end of Q3. When the car got back to the FIA, they were unable to take a sufficient fuel sample, and thus disqualified Lewis, pushing our boy to pole position for Sunday's race. Pastor, though, was going to have to worry about an informed Fernando Alonso behind him, with very few people expecting him to even remain on the podium come the end of the Grand Prix. And sure enough, the Ferrari would get the better start and leap ahead of the Williams on a long run down to turn 1. The Venezuelan would refuse to give up, however, and his strong pace, combined with a fantastic strategy from the Williams team, except for this bit, allowed Pastor to overtake Fernando again and claim his first and only Grand Prix win. Maldonado was on top of the moon, and according to him was hot property on the driver market, even going as far to say that he was the 2012 version of Max Verstappen. Yeah, I'd love to know what drugs he's on. Thing was, though Maldonado got that win and beat out teammate Senna in the standings, he was far less consistent, the Brazilian scoring in twice as many races while Maldonado kept ending them in the barrier. Then again, Max Verstappen used to do that a ton as well. Regardless, he would stay on for one more season with Williams in 2013, this time partnering Porridge Man himself, Valtteri Bottas. The team would go downhill again, however, matching their 2011 tally of 5 points as Maldonado's relations with the team started matching his on-track antics. At the US Grand Prix, Crash Tour even went as far to accuse his Williams engineers of sabotage. Sure, nice story, mate. But despite his third year in F1 going tits up, Maldonado's 2012 season, as well as his large bags of cash, were apparently appealing to other teams on the grid, one of which being the Scuderia. Ferrari had been umming and ahhing over what to do with Fernando Alonso's latest lapdog, Felipe Massa, for 2014, eventually deciding to replace him as F1 entered its turbo-hybrid era. Massa would end up taking Maldonado's seat at Williams, which hilariously became a step forward in 2014. But apparently it almost became a straight swap, with Maldonado going the other way and partnering Alonso. Now, Pastor was by no means the only driver in line for that second seat, with Nico Hülkenberg and Mark Webber also claiming to be in the running had he decided not to retire at the end of 2013. The Australian even had the backing of F1 boss Bernie Ecclestone, back when that meant something. Maldonado would speak to Ferrari about a drive regularly during the 2013 season, and according to him, it was certain to go through. So the question is, why didn't it? Well, Pastor puts that down to two factors, the first of which being his main sponsor, PDVSA. There was apparently conflict between them and Ferrari, especially when it came to their placement on the 2014 car's livery. In the end though, none of that would really matter, as after instead signing Kimi Raikkonen to partner Alonso, Ferrari team principal Stefano Domenicali would step down, and end any hopes of Pastor joining the team for good. Instead, the Venezuelan would switch to the flailing Lotus outfit for the next 2 seasons, where he continued to be Pastor Maldonado. Now, it's always interesting to speculate whether Ferrari deal would have left the future of Formula 1. 2014 was one of the team's worst seasons in its history, and frankly, I can't see Maldonado spinning at the front of the field, making that any better than what we ended up getting. The other point of interest would have been what would have become of Kimi Raikkonen, had he been passed up on the Ferrari seat. I personally couldn't see him remaining at Lotus, so I wonder if he would have called it a day there, or taken Maldonado's seat at Williams, who knows. It's a cool discussion point, so let me know what you think down in the comments below. Anyway, that then is the story of how Pastor Maldonado almost became a Ferrari driver. If there are any other topics you want me to cover, then you can get in touch over on Instagram and Twitter. Links for that you can find down in the description or pinned comment. Finally, a big thank you to all the patrons for their continued support, and I'll see you all in the next one.